Hello everyone, my name is Sarah. So today we're doing a pretty different style of video. I've been inspired recently and for the past 6 months to a year by the project panning community, which is why, I don't know if you'll have noticed, but on my channel the only other video right now is Project 100 uses for my makeup. But my makeup consumption habits are pretty fine. I didn't get into makeup until I was older, and so I don't really need to do any project pans or any no-buys for makeup because I don't right now have an issue with those things. But what I do have an issue with over-consuming is video games. It's the one area where I really struggle with self-control. The way other people talk about their makeup consumption, how they have so much makeup and they keep buying more and more and more. I have that issue, but with video games. I have video games. I'm going to show you them now. If you're not into video games, that's okay. You can still watch this because it's going to be very similar to other people's no-buys where they talk about makeup and the makeup they wanted and the makeup they're not going to get and what they have and how they're going to use it. It's going to be all that same content except about video games. If you don't like video games, that's okay. If you don't like makeup, that's okay. I might talk about both. I might talk about other stuff, but everyone is welcome. And this is really just about my consumption habits and how I'm trying to get them under control. But I am really inspired by the makeup community, especially the panning and budgetary and no-buy side of the makeup community. And I think I could use some of that influence in my consumption of video games, which is why I decided to do a no-buy. So yeah, here is my Switch. This is the console that I always buy games on. I have, look at all these games I have. Look, it just keeps going. Okay, it doesn't go that far, but it's like 6 each row. I have 31 games on here right now. They're not all downloaded right now, but I do have 31 games, which may not seem like a lot, but a lot of these games I've never finished. So I'm going to talk about the games I have very quickly. So if you're not into games and you just wanted to watch for the budgeting, stick around and maybe you'll learn something about indie games and it'll be interesting. But right now on my Switch, the things I own are Animal Crossing, which I play a ton. I have like 200 hours plus in that game, maybe 300 now. I haven't been paying attention. I have Breath of the Wild. I've never finished Breath of the Wild. I have Forager. I have played a lot of it. I've doubled my time. I have Stardew Valley. I haven't finished it. I have Bug Fables. I did finish that one. I have Darkest Dungeon. Never finished it. I have Don't Starve, haven't played nearly enough of it. I have Little Big Workshop, I have not finished it or done as much as I want to. I have Pokemon Shield, I did not buy that one and I have never finished it, but maybe. I'd consider it, I'm not counting it. So right now I'm counting the games I've never finished. I have Dead Cells. I still have a lot of stuff I could do in that. I finished one run and I have the harder version to do. At Project High Rise, I haven't played nearly enough of that. There's a lot of different sub things you can do in it, and I've only done one. I've only done one campaign of like 20 or 30 campaigns. Graveyard Keeper, never finished. Near finishing, like I've gotten very far in that game, but I've never finished it, and I really want to. Tangled Tower, I have finished twice over, and it's great, and I would play it easily again. Monster Prom, I finished it a bunch of times, but I want to play more of it. It's super fun, and I don't feel done with the game at all. Dicey Dungeons, haven't played nearly enough of that. Death Road to Canada, haven't finished that. I have Gris, which is gray in French. It's the one French word I can't really pronounce, to be honest, but I did finish that game. I have Later Daters, which maybe I'll do a whole rant on, but I finished it technically. It's a whole thing. I won't get into it now, but I have finished that. I have Tetris 99, which honestly I could play way more. It's very fun. I have Rain City, never finished that. I have another like phone game which I play with my boyfriend a lot. It's very fun. It's one of the few multiplayer games that he actually likes to play with me. I have another game that I finished called Bury Me, My Love. I think it's originally a phone game, but it's very good. I finished one run and it kind of doesn't work for the others. Like I don't know, if I downloaded it again, I think I could do another run, so I could probably keep going, but I'm honestly fine with as much as I played it because I did get it for free. No Time to Relax, that's multiplayer, but I would love to play that more. Coffee Talk, haven't finished that. I've the Jackbox Party Pack 7, which I have played for like less than an hour, but I got it to play at Christmas with my family, and they didn't play it with me, but I did get to play it with my roommates. But I want to play that way more. It's a game called, it's like a point and click adventure game, and I did complete that. It was very good. I have another game I haven't played nearly as much. It's a tower defense game. It's very good. There's also on the Switch, if you guys play it, you can get all the old video games on it, like ports to the Switch. And I haven't played like most of the games in there, even though I do have an online subscription, so I have full access to them, and I could play all of those. And there's like the Super Nintendo, the NES, but I haven't played that nearly enough. I have a game called Florence. I did finish that. And I have Rocket League is now on it, and it's free, which is awesome because I loved playing that game with my ex. So those are the games I own. That's 31 video games, and 29 of them I haven't finished yet. So I decided to categorize my games into 4 categories. Games that I never finished. In other words, games that either have stories that I never finished, or games where they have gameplay loops, which have a kind of definite end of you've played through the gameplay loop, and to play it again, you would have to start the run over again, that I haven't done. So that's in the never finished category. So either, like I said, either games that the story isn't done or the gameplay loop isn't done. There's games where I could play more, where some of these games are harder to tell if they have a finish. So they're games where maybe I finished the gameplay loop one time, but there are harder difficulties, or there is more content to be unlocked, or I didn't 100% it and I want to 100% it. I didn't count games where I didn't 100% it, but I have no desire to. Just games that I saw and I was like, I could go back into that game. I could like finish everything off. I could 100% it and I could be happy to 100% it. Or where the gameplay loop lends itself to, you could do a different run, you could play it again, you know, there's more content to be played, and I personally have a desire to play that content again. So even though I finished the story loop or the first cycle loop of the playing, I have a desire to play it over again, or to you know, it's a game where it's maybe randomly generated or something like that, where it lends itself to playing it multiple times and I don't feel done with the game yet. I don't feel like it's finished and I would need to replay it. It'd be just a continuing of playing it. There's also finished, which is games where it has a definite story and I've played through that story. Or games that have a gameplay loop where I don't feel the urge to go back and play again, where I just feel like I've done those games, I've played as much of them as I really desire to play, and I'm kind of done with those games. And some of these are even games I would replay, but it would feel like replaying. It wouldn't feel like a new thing that I was doing. It wouldn't feel like additional content. It would feel like rereading a book. Whereas in the could play more is games where I feel like there's more to be done that I haven't yet done. There is, you know, it doesn't feel like just doing the same thing over again. Whereas finished games are games where if I played them again, it would feel like rereading a book. So I hope that's clear. And then I have games I haven't finished, but I have no desire to finish, that I just didn't like and I don't want to play, and they're write-off games, and I do have a couple of those. So for let's go over the categories and how many games in each that I have. Like I said, I have 31 games in total, and there are 14 games that I have never finished. Like, there is story yet to play. There is game left to play that I never finished. 14. This is by far my largest category of games. And some of these games are like Animal Crossing, where I could put it down now and I'd be kind of okay with it, and I could pick it back up in 3 months. And it's a game that will never technically end, but I also don't feel finished at all with Animal Crossing. I don't feel like I've done everything and I want to keep playing it. So it's in never finished. But a lot of these games are games that have story, that have an ending that I have not gotten to yet. And it's my biggest category of games. Like, geez, Louise, Jesus freaking Christ. The next category is games that I could play more, and I have 10. Yeah, I have 10 games that, like, I would be happy right now to, like, keep playing and do another loop and have a good time. But I feel like I've done maybe a run in it. I feel like I've gotten something out of it, like I've finished it, and I just could keep playing it, or I could play it again, and I would be happy to. So it's better to be in the could play more than the never finished. But this is my second biggest category, is games that I never finished, or that I could play more, that I want to play more, that I have the urge to play again or play more or finish off in some way that I haven't. Then my finished is the third biggest category, so it really does go down the list, and I only have 5 games in this category. And look, part of that is because there are a lot of games that I own that I enjoy that are roguelites. Some people would call it. Some people would call them dungeon crawlers, whatever you want to call them. But if you're not a video game player, and that's fine, roguelite is a category of game where you have, let's say, a dungeon that you go through and it's randomly generated. So every time you go into this dungeon, it's different and different things happen. And the joy of playing these games is that you can play them over and over and over and over and over and over again, pretty much indefinitely, until you get so sick of the game you never want to see it again. But theoretically, I could be playing these games forever. So part of the reason there are so many games that aren't finished is because I own a lot of those types of games that could be played over and over again, which is why there's a lot of games in the could play more as opposed to the finished. But these are also games that for the next year I could just play them. I could, instead of buying new games, I could just pick up these ones that I still have meat on the bones to me, and I could keep playing them. But there are 5 games that have story, perhaps, or that I'm kind of over and that I've played enough and I feel like I've gotten my money out of, and I feel like I have done everything I want to do. There are 5 games that are like that for me. And then don't want to play again, luckily, is only 2 games. There are 2 games on my list that I just, like, the finished games I could play again. I could replay them just like I reread books. Going back to the book analogy, like, there are some games in the finished, all of the games in the finished pile are ones that I would pick up again. I would play again if I felt desperate, or if this year I get really bored and I just have the urge to play them again. I will absolutely go to the finished games and replay them just for the fun of it. But the don't want to play again is pretty obvious. I don't want to play them again. I don't like them. I don't want to play with them. Some of them I wish I had never bought, and I'm just like, done. I'm good. I feel like I have no desire to play that. So even if you add those 2 categories together of games that, you know, are finished in some way, shape, or form, that's only 7 total, as opposed to my 14 that I never finished playing and my 10 that I would like to keep playing. So games that I have the immediate desire to keep playing that's 10, 20, 24. of my 31 games, I have game left to play. I wouldn't need to replay them. I could just keep playing them, and there's still time left, and that's a lot of games to play, and so I'm going to play them. If you're into makeup and video games and just kind of whatever, a little bit of anti-capitalism, painting maybe, I don't know what this channel is going to be, but if you're interested in just, you know, going along with the ride with me, you can subscribe if you like, and I will see you guys next week. I think I'm trying to do once a week. But yeah, I will see you guys next week with God knows what. I haven't figured out what I want my content to be yet. Bye, guys.